Welcome to our masterclass on the Great Resignation. Is your employee experience an asset or a liability? So we've just done the masterclass, and now I'll do a recording separate to share with you the slides or thoughts and some of the questions that came in. So I'm just going to share my screen. There we go. So who are we? We are Hello Performance. We're a culture consultancy. We go into companies and help companies improve their culture or shift their culture into the direction of being a brilliant culture. So where are you on the continuum? Identifying that and then shifting them towards the direction they want to go. There's always a culture. You end up one with whatever you do. So you can either choose to shape it and influence it or take your chances. It's like the garden. You could let it go wild, or you can design and decide what is going to grow where. And we will talk about those flowers being the behaviors that you want to see thrive around the company. So the Great Resignation, 41% of workers in EU have changed or planning to change their jobs. So we know there is a workforce shortage right now, a skills shortage, and a workforce shortage. Yeah, how is that dividing up amongst different sectors of the workforce? Hourly workers, not only are they moving for maybe better pay, but we're also seeing that some are moving for even a lower pay, but where they see more benefits, some upward mobility, and some compassion around them and their life and their personal requirements. Gen Z, so they're the ones born after 1995, we're reporting difficulties feeling engaged, being excited at work, getting work done, getting a word in during meetings, bringing new ideas to the table. So that feeling maybe not being listened to. And that mid-career sector, the workers and managers from 30 to 45, there's also an increase in resignation there, 12% higher in December 2020 than it was the year before. So we asked the people on the call, why do they care? Why do they care about this? So they don't want to lose really good people. It costs a lot. They want to make a great experience for their employees. They want to be more human in the workplace. Lots of reasons coming through of why they actually care about the employee experience. So the Great Resignation, what are the reasons? Well, there's a newfound confidence at the moment. COVID, where people were maybe, during the COVID pandemic, people were maybe more more concerned about leaving their job. So with the risks associated to it. So, but now, vaccine, booster, coming out of COVID, there is a newfound confidence. During the pandemic, people had time to reflect, and they had the space to think, life is too short. Is this the kind of job I want to be in? Is this the job? Do I even like my job? Is this the kind of company I want to be in? Do they care about me? And that realization. So the Great Resignation is actually the great realization. Burnout, we see a high percentage of workers feeling overworked and exhausted. You see the percentage over there, 54% feeling overworked and 39% feeling exhausted. Gen Z, we see the highest number of Gen Z going through the Great Resignation, 54% planning or have left their job, and mental well-being and burnout being a really big factor there. The opportunities for career growth. If career is stopped, it was that time to reflect and go, what do I want to achieve? It's a human, we want to progress. And the company giving that opportunity to the employees. Financial gain. So during COVID, people, a number of employees saved a lot of money because they weren't commuting, they weren't going to Starbucks for their coffee, they didn't have to use their car as much, and there they made a good saving. So it might give them the confidence and security now to go and leave their job, which they may not have had before. Job quality exposed. So during COVID, or we'll say pre-COVID, when we're all in the offices, we had that connection and that interaction with people, which may have masked the actual job we're doing. But when you remove that and we're working alone at home, the job quality can be quite exposed. What is it actually I do? And do I even really like it? In fact, I really don't like this. I want to have a change. And undervalued. So again, the connection with employees may have masked that fact that you're undervalued by the company and your manager. Now during COVID, when it is so much more highlighted and it can be seen for what it is, then feeling undervalued by the company and your manager is another big reason for the Great Resignation. One of the easiest ones to solve. So getting Singer, making sure we're saying thank you to people. How do you get people to stick around? What's been flagged by the experts? Flexibility is a demand that has risen, of course. We all know that. They experience some flexibility while working from home. They do not want to go back to how it was before. Meaning in my work. What is the purpose? Why do we exist? That needs to get stronger for companies, and they need to have a real purpose and vision so people feel it's worth me putting years of my life in here. A healthy culture. This is why we stay and leave in companies as cultures, is the culture in the company. Creating that really great culture, or that strong culture, is critical. And we'll talk through some ideas how to do that. Clear opportunities for career progression, which we mentioned, decent pay, well-being. This is an aspect that's getting more and more companies caring about well-being, and there's so much that companies can do now around well-being, and feeling valued, feeling that their work matters and that they're valued by their company, their managers, and their colleagues. So cost to turnover. So do you know the cost of the turnover of your employees right now? What is the percentage and what is costing? So normally we cost it around the recruitment costs and what we have to pay extra for a new employee, but there is so much more aspects to the true cost of turnover. So for the departing employee, what's the HR time they have to spend, manager's time, accrued benefit that has to be costed, temp cover, lost clients if they're in a client-facing role, disruption to team-based work. Then for the incoming, what's the time they have to spend in HR, manager's time, the mentor's time, socialization time, what's the productivity loss, how long does they get up to full productivity? That in some roles can take up to a year. So your cost by your number of employees who've left gives you your cost per year. A really valuable and highlighting calculation to do. So the employee experience, let's get on to the employee experience. It's unique to each company. And tailored around a company context, their industry and their culture. You can't just copy and paste. Now you can get great ideas, but you can't really copy and paste. So going through the employee experience and working out what is needed to improve or shift each state into a better position will help a lot. And consider employee moments. Employee moments are something that is becoming more and more important. Think of the employees. So what's important in our personal life is those big moments in our life, our birthdays, birth of a child, when we get married, a death of someone in belonging to us. All of these moments have significant impact on our personal lives, which impacts our work lives. And companies that are recognizing that and allowing and securing that helps a lot. Just going to pause there. So continuing around employee experience, we talked about employee moments. So here is the employee life cycle. So the 6 stages of the employee life cycle, from attraction, recruitment, onboarding, development, retention, and separation. Why I put them in the color strongest green at attraction and then it gets lighter is what we find is engagement levels can decrease over time, and the engagement is strongest when they come in the company. So doing what you can to nurture and keep that is brings us much easier to retain it than it is to build it. So that when they come in with that high motivation and confidence and excitement, then capturing that, nurturing that, and to keeping that through their journey is critical. So what we want to think about during employee life cycle is, what do we want the the employee to feel and what do we want the company to be saying. So we capture that in for each stage, for each company, and it can be different for each company. But generally, what you want around the attraction is you want the employee to be saying, "Oh, it's a great company. I'm consider, yeah, I'm going to apply for them. I think that apply for that job. It's a really good company." Or I've heard great things about them. I've looked online. I've seen great things about them on Glassdoor, etc. What do you want to say at recruitment? They are like me. They like me. And they're not like me. They like me. I am special. What the company to be saying, we want you, especially you. So this is where now you're picking the person who's going to be taking the job, and you make them feel special. So what do you need to be doing at that recruitment stage to make them feel special? Onboarding. They are happy to have me. And what do you want the company to be saying? Welcome. Here's how to fit in. So when an employee starts a new company, the two most important things are that they feel welcomed and they build a connection. Those two things are critical. At the development phase, you're good at your job and you're getting better. What's the employee saying? I'm learning, growing, being successful, and making a difference. So how do we capture that? How do we make sure that they're experiencing that during the development phase? Retention, so how we're keeping our employees, we support and recognize you. I matter to this company. So when an employee feels that the company cares about them, they matter, they're valued, retention is much higher. And then one of the steps that is lost a lot is that separation. Thank you for your great work. And you want the employee to be saying, I want to come back and work here. So that is something to really think about is, you know, employees leave, they go off and experience other things. You want them to be saying, but you know what, I would consider going back there because my God, I had a great experience there. So we did a poll then. Let's get up the poll with the attendees who were there. And the poll was, which stage is there most room for improvement? And the one that came out the most was the development phase. So, and then the other ones were retention and separation, but the development phase was the one that was highlighted the most. So let's go through and we'll share you some of our culture hacks that we share with our clients as well. So attraction, that phase. If they know someone in the company, they might give them a call. They look on Glassdoor and see what employees are saying about it. So it's so important that employees are talking positively about the company. So your promoters are really talking, they're the positive ones. What are your neutrals saying? And certainly detractors that are disengaged will talk negatively. So how do you ensure you can have as many promoters as possible? And the website, so what does your employee get from the website, or not your employee, for the person who is considering working for your company? When they look at the website, do they see how you're making a difference? Do they get meaning? Do they see what is important to you? They get a good feeling? Will they feel, it's a great company and I want to work there? At that phase as well, how do you treat unsuccessful candidates? They may be they may be a future employee of yours. So treating them with respect and making sure we're getting back to them is a real way, because remember, there's a battle for employees at the moment. So treating unsuccessful ones, because then they may apply again for another role. And get feedback. Only 25% of companies ask for feedback on the pre-selection process. Get feedback on how good it is. If you're using a recruitment company, make sure you're getting feedback. Either they are doing it or getting it independently, so that you know how what the experience is like for the candidate. Recruitment, interviewing based around values. So one of the biggest reasons that people do not work out in companies is that their values are different, and their values do not match the values of the company. So basing your interview around that. For example, if honesty is a value of your company, doing questions like, tell me about a time you had to give feedback to a person that it wasn't received well, or tell me about a time you had to give really difficult feedback to a colleague. Reducing unconscious bias. So unconscious bias is our assumptions that we have that make us unconsciously, help make us make decisions in the way we make decisions. So challenging your recruitment company of how they remove unconscious bias to make sure they're opening up the opportunities for truly great candidates to come in, and not letting any unconscious bias, gender, race, anything that can make any assumptions that we've brought along in our lives with us. And interviews with a difference. So there'll be the normal interview process that you have, but if you're a company that has an opportunity to influence that interview process, or it's a really important critical role you're hiring for, making an extra effort around that interview process, that last stage when you're down to 1-2 candidates, lovely opportunity, for example, inviting them to say, right, instead of us meeting at the office, you decide where we're going to meet, bring me somewhere that inspires you, and spend a tenner to give me a great experience. So we have a company that did that. One of the candidates brought them to a beautiful place with a beautiful view. They had a coffee and cake, and the person explained what that place meant to them, and it gave bucket loads about what that person is truly about. But make interviews about a difference, impress them, go, whoo, don't get that anywhere else. That was quite impressive. Onboarding. So in those first few months, employees make a decision whether they're going to stay for 2 years or not. So that onboarding is critical, making them feel welcome. Remember, they're coming in with high engagement and motivation. You want to capture and nurture that. And consider, how are you going to help them build connections? How are you going to make them feel that they belong? And much harder to do, of course, when we're remote or working online. Even a bigger effort needs to be made. Personalize it. For example, asking them what is it that what's their favorite 11s or 3 o'clock treats, and having that for them on their first week to show I listened, I care about you. That is a really nice thing to do. Yeah. So development. Engaged employees, they not only seek it, but they actually request it. It's a human nature that we want to progress. And thinking outside of the box and not the traditional training courses of ways that you can collaborate, innovate, how you can get new ideas and thinking, and then measure. So if there's one thing you're going to take away from this masterclass is, how am I measuring it? And you may do engagement surveys. Is it included in there that you're getting feedback on each of those stages in your engagement surveys? And not only just once a year, are you doing pulses through the year with ad hoc employees along the year to get a real sense of and temperature check of where you are at? So retention. So we talk about adrenaline bursts versus long-term engagement. So there's things you can do to get some short-term increase in engagement. And there's the things that are a longer journey, but have a bigger impact, having meaning in my work, career progression. Those things have a longer impact on engagement. Gratitude. Having a culture of gratitude, saying thank you and appreciating. How do you do that? How does the company do it? How do managers do it? How do colleagues do it? And a way to recognize and rave about colleagues is really important. And involved in feeling listened to. So one of our attendees at the masterclass shared that they have just started an open door surgery where they invite employees to come and share their thoughts. So that is a way of doing it before the problem becomes an issue. Great way to encourage employees to come and talk to them. And again, measure. What are the things that are working, that are keeping? What are the things that are not working, and what do you need to do to fix them? My favorite culture hack is not instead, but maybe as well as doing leave interviews, do stay interviews. Find out what keeps people here. Really, really important. And separation. One of the stages that is often discarded or overlooked. Track valuable leavers. How many valuable leavers are you losing? inviting them to return later time. When they leave, verbalizing, going, you know what, if you ever want to come back here, you are more than welcome. So often companies think it, but they don't actually verbalize it and say it to the employees. What a nice goodbye that is. Understand that it can be good for people to leave, and it can be good for them to go off and experience other things. Also, you know, they just may not have been the right fit for the company, and there is a better company out there that fits them better. Conducting leave interviews. Remembering they keep in contact with employees, so how we treat them is really important. Keep connected to them, update them on what's happening in the company, get an email list, a really, really easy way to keep them updated on what's happening with the company, to keep them connected. So they may, if they have the opportunity or the thought, they may decide to come back. They are potential ambassadors for you. So treating them right, and that separation period is really important. How do you ensure that they walk away going, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind working there again? Yes, so our Culture Accelerator program. So we help MDs and HR managers to build an employee experience and a client experience that really makes it wow and brilliant. And to do that, we have to build the culture. So we have 5 stages to that. We decode the culture, break it down so that we can actually communicate it. What are the values? What are the behaviors that make up those values? How do we expect people to act and behave in our company to really take out the weeds and build those flowers in that garden that you want? A deep dive, we measure the culture, so an in-depth deep dive into the culture through interviews and also through surveys, and find out what's working and what's not working, and what's driving that engagement level that is currently there. But not just then, also along the year doing pulses, temperature checks on the culture to see where we are at. Making it a KPI. So we really recommend that there should be some measurement of culture on that leadership team as a measurement regularly on where we are at with culture. Then working out what's not working, devising a plan to picking out the things we can't do everything. So what things will have the greatest impact, and then creating accountability. I think one of the biggest reasons companies engage with us is to have some accountability to make this happen. The whirlwind of the day job takes over. It's really nightmare. So we hold them accountable and help them get to where they want to be. So if this resonated with you and you would like, we do a free strategy session to book in a half an hour to talk about where your culture is at, where you want it to be, and how we can get you there. Jump on a call. The link is here, and you just go in and pick a time that works for you. Really, really simple. And then we can have a call together and work out what is the strategy for your culture. A little bit more about us there. So we thank you for joining us and taking the time to, if you've made as far as here, you've listened to the whole masterclass. Thanks to the group that joined, fantastic engagement and interaction, some super questions that came through, like do we see a big increase in companies wanting to improve the culture? Are companies aware of it? How do you ensure that, let me look down here. Yeah, our companies recognizing it, our companies seeing the challenge it is. And yes, companies are. We have a massive increase in inquiries. We see from late in COVID, it was companies realized they needed their culture to come out of COVID, and they needed to repair it and build it back up. And now it's also working out that, you know what, I'm competing with other companies for employees. I need to make sure that our culture is a really great culture that people want to stay at. So thank you for joining our masterclass. Book in for a call and we can talk about where your culture is at and where you want it to be. Great. Thank you very much.